Reviewing the #1 cheap fragrances as decided by Instagram. I asked you guys to put in your submissions for this category because usually I actually kind of overlook cheap fragrances, honestly. I'm kind of trying to venture more into expensive niche stuff. However, I do appreciate that times are tough and a lot of people just like good quality cheap fragrances. Maybe you like to blind buy them. Maybe you just like really good value for money. So hopefully by exploring what the community likes, we can explore good quality cheap fragrances and see what's out there. One of you did recommend as a cheap fragrance Roja's Haute Luxe Parfum, which I believe is around $3,000. So clearly cheap is a subjective term between people, and clearly some of us are living a lot better than the rest of us. And some of you also suggested Nautica Voyage as a few suggestions. I'm just going to ignore those and pretend I didn't see them. #1 is Versace's Oud Noir. Now, a lot of people might say this is not that affordable, but let's say, hey, for a beginner oud scent, this is affordable. A lot of people do choose this as a beginner oud fragrance. And weirdly enough, a lot of people used to think this was discontinued for such a long time. I think for many years, people thought the price would hike up, but I think it's kind of a middle of the range kind of designer fragrance, but let's say affordable for oud perfumery. Versace Oud Noir, a lot of people say the opening smells like Tom Ford's Oud Wood, and I would say so. It's kind of like a more synthetic, designer-esque oud wood in the opening, and then as it dries down, it kind of has this patchouli, this darker spiciness in here, kind of becoming its own fragrance later on. I don't think oud is trying to be the main note in the DNA here, but it kind of gets the idea across appropriately. I think they use synthetic woody molecules. I definitely don't think there's any real oud in here, that's my opinion. And I get around 6 hour performance. When I had my bottle back in the day, I gave it away or sold it, I think. So yes, it's not a bad cheap fragrance. Let's say an affordable cheap oud scent. I think if you want a safe oud scent, this is quite good to go for. I think if you like dark, sexy evening perfumery, it's a nice oud beginner scent to go for. Another great option is Chopard's Oud Malaki, or you can go for Versace's Shura, or you can also go for Franck Olivier's Oud Touch. I don't think any of these fragrances have any real oud in them, but they kind of get the idea across. Would I say this is worth being titled a #1 cheap fragrance? I wouldn't say so. I'll give this an 8 out of 10. I think the blend leaves something to be desired a little bit and the performance isn't amazing, but I do think it's a solid beginner oud scent. Versace's The Dreamer. So this does have the artistic merit of being one of the last fragrances that Gianni Versace designed before he passed away. This does smell a little bit like the 90s, but it kind of smells like a timeless classic also. It's a really interesting blend of florals, lavender, tobacco, and tonka bean in here. I actually tried to do a video where I cloned this fragrance in my bedroom perfumery series, and I kind of flopped, and it kind of shows how masterful this blend is. It does smell like its price tag. It's like a £20 fragrance, and I think the blend is fantastic for the price. The ingredients, not so much, but I think you get fantastic versatility out of this. It has a really cool, strange, artistic value to it. I think if you're an artistic, creative person, you're going to enjoy this. I think it's a fairly safe fragrance to blind buy if you don't mind. Let's say if you don't like it, you can just gift it to someone else if you don't mind doing that. It has soft immediate projection of 6 to 8 hours longevity. I think apart from the slight cheapness of the ingredients, I actually think this is a really solid cheap fragrance overall. I'll give this a 9 out of 10. I think this could be a really good signature for certain guys. 32% of people who watch School of Scent are subscribed to us. If you guys want to see our channel grow, to really help us out, click subscribe. Let's get that number to 40%. Thank you. Let's just get all the Versace's out of the way in this video. Versace Blue Jeans. Now this is an even cheaper fragrance, around £15. I think I gave my bottle away because I wasn't using it, but I think this is a solid cheap fragrance also. It gives you solid performance, solid complement factor, and a solid dumb reach versatility as well. You can kind of just grab and go every day, especially for the younger crowd out there. I kind of think this is a really good cheap beginner fragrance in general. Let's say teenagers want a cheap fragrance to see if they even like fragrances in general. They want something they can see if they're going to even apply it every day. I think this is a good fragrance to go for, a good daily dumb reach. It smells like old school citrusy lemon with this old school muskiness in here. That lasts quite a while. It's overall quite fresh and clean, but has some balance into it as well. So it's got some multi-layered facets to it, which is quite interesting. It lasts at least 6 hours as well from my experience with a medium projection. All this for a £15 price tag is pretty impressive. So apart from the slight old school factor to it, it's a pretty good scent. I'll give this an 8.5 out of 10. Roso Mustache EDP Parfum, a simple but elegant blend of rose, pink pepper, and amber. This is meant to be an affordable clone of YSL's Tuxedo, That fragrance is a bit more photorealistic and spicy, but I think for the price difference, I think this is better, honestly. I think this smells incredibly high quality for its price tag when you can find it at discounts. I think this is the perfect romantic signature. If you're a romantic, sensual man, you just want to smell sexy, clean, and inviting most of the year round. Maybe you wouldn't wear this in the summertime, but I think even in the summer you can wear this as well. It works well in the evening, but I think it can work in the daytime as well. It's a softly projecting fragrance, so it's not going to be loud at all. It's meant to be discovered, not announced. I get 8 hours longevity with a soft projection. I think this is incredible for the price. Again, I'm going to say to you, you need to wait for it to be on discounters. It needs to be at a cheap price for me to say that's worth it. That's when it becomes a cheap fragrance. You can go from being like £75 to £30. I'd say wait for it to be £30. I think that's when it's really feels like a steal for the price. I think I might actually give this a 10 out of 10. I think it fits the criteria in this video. I think I agree with this potentially being someone's #1 cheap fragrance. Halloween Man X. Now, I used to own this bottle as well. This was kind of always recommended and hyped by Jeremy. I think that's why it came into the community so much.
With this guy right here, which is called Halloween Man X. It's the same level of compliments that you will get. Impressive.
It's sort of like a cheap synthetic vanilla with a coffee note in there. This to me smells like a poor man's Versace Eros. I didn't like it. I thought it smelled cheap, synthetic, and tacky. And I kind of do think there are better beginner coffee scents out there. Like you could go for the Ferragamo Uomo line, for example. I used to like also Ralph Lauren's Polo Red Extreme, which is unfortunately discontinued. Or you spend a bit more money and get Mancera's Amore Caffè, which I don't stop talking about these days. You guys know this. And overall, I don't really like Halloween Man X. I can see why some people like it. I think teenagers might be the most appropriate crowd to use it. You can wear it most of the year round, apart from maybe the summertime. That's like a, let's say, an evening scent that's for fun, casual environments. I got decent performance as well, like 6 to 8 hours in medium projection. So it's not bad. It's not horrendous for its price tag. I just really did not enjoy it. I would give this maybe like a 7.5 out of 10, or maybe even an 8 if I'm being generous. Let's stick to 7.5. Franck Olivier's Oud Touch. This is a solid fragrance. If you're a guy who wants something that's affordable, let's say you want to do a blind buy for something that you just want to be loud. You want this to be a beast mode, loud fragrance that, again, I mentioned it earlier in the video, it kind of introduces you into the oud style, the rose, smoky oud style. I think they're using incense and other woody molecules to try to recreate oud. Oud is not even listed in the note breakdown, but I think this is a solid scent. It gets you into that rose oud traditional Middle Eastern perfumery. And I think the performance is fantastic. 12 to 14 hours with a loud projection for this price tag, and it doesn't smell too annoying either. You might be worried a loud, cheap fragrance like this might be annoying. You know, you might get flashbacks and PTSD from, let's say, Homme, which is also another cheap but loud fragrance. I think Oud Touch might get a little bit cheap smelling if you go too close with your nose, but I think in the air it actually smells really high quality for its price tag. Another scent, again, I can recommend to you guys, instead of this fragrance, if you want something that's loud and oud-based, synthetic oud, you can go for Versace Shura again, so pick one of the two. But Oud Touch is solid. I really like it. I think if you want beast mode perfumery, go for it. It's a 9 out of 10 from me. Davidoff Zeno. This was quite an interesting submission because I used to own a bottle of this actually. A lot of people kind of gave it high ratings on Fragrantica and said this was quite solid, mature barbershop perfumery. And yes, I would say this is like a dark fougere that focuses a lot on patchouli. And I don't like it. I didn't like it. I kind of gave my bottle away really quickly. It smelled a little bit cheap, synthetic, just really poorly done. Like it smells like its price tag, which is an issue sometimes with cheap fragrances. And also I'd smelled Tom Ford's Beau de Jour. I feel like Beau de Jour was inspired by this fragrance and just did it better. You kind of see the similarities between the two, but Zeno is definitely more dark. I kind of feel like it's like an evening-esque fougere, but it just smells outdated, not greatly blended. Maybe it was better in older formulations, maybe the reformulations ruined it potentially, but I wasn't a fan of it. I would say this fragrance is most suited for the older gentleman who just wants to kind of smell the classics. I think it is a classic fragrance. It's something I can imagine guys back in the 80s smoking cigars and lounges would wear something like this. It kind of has that old school rugged vibe to it. It has good performance as well from what I remember. So I'd give this an 8 out of 10, but I'm still was not a fan personally. Have you guys tried Davidoff Zeno? It's not a fragrance people talk about that often anymore. What do you guys think if you have experienced it? And lastly, Bentley Men Intense. This is a fragrance I used to hate on so much. I think I gave it a 6 out of 10 back in the day. Bentley Men Intense. Oh, do I love to hate on this fragrance in this channel. This was a disappointment. mainly because I think I received an older bottle of this. My first bottle was just not good. I think I just got a bad batch for some reason. I'm not sure why the quality wasn't there. Maybe it was because it was a few months after COVID. Maybe my sense of smell was still not fully recovered. I don't know. I thought it smelled really simplistic and overrated, but actually I tried a sample, loved it, got this bottle, and I love it. It is great, mature, gentlemanly, leather, boozy, woody perfumery. If you want that kind of vibe, again, it's similar to that Davidoff Zeno scenario I was talking about this gentleman in the cigar lounge, but I think this smells more modern, more relevant. It smells really high quality. This is a glowing amber-based perfume. I think it's incredible quality for its price tag. Natalie Lawson did a fantastic job with this. She made the blend here smell really expensive, and it lasts a good amount of time as well, like 8 to 10 hours with a medium projection. If you want a more safe, maybe slightly less synthetic or less cheap smelling version of this kind of DNA, you can go for Fahrenheit Le Parfum, which is a bit more smooth in my opinion, but I still think this is really good for its price. Where does this your cold weather evening scent? I give this a 9 out of 10. And that concludes this video, guys. What do you think should have been included on this list? What do you think are your #1 cheap fragrances that just give incredible value for money and you think more people should know about? Let us know in the comments down below, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to check out our previous video on cheap fragrances. I'll give it a perfect 10 out of 10. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.